What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Shoes Off podcast. This podcast is brought to you by APTHCRY, your sneakers' favorite socks. If you guys want to check out APTHCRY, there are links in the description below. And also make sure to redeem the next core badge, which is linked in the description below, so you can join the exclusive Shoes Off podcast core community. With that being said, today's episode is very special because our guest is actually one of the co-hosts, Osman Cueto, one of the co-founders of APTHCRY, and one of my best friends.
Gang, gang.
So here we go. With that being said, let's dive into it. All right, well, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining your own podcast. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Well, the reason I wanted you on is because a lot of people know who you are, especially if they're watching this podcast, but they don't know you. They know the idea of Osman, but they don't know the man himself.
Might be better like that.
They don't know the man, the myth, the legend. So with that being said, today I just want to take time for them to get to know you, for me to learn a little bit more about you, because I've known you since 2010, but I feel like I don't know everything about you. I like to know everything. I like to just dive in. It's getting weird. So let's start things off. One of the first things that I saw of yours when I first stalked your Facebook profile back in like 2010 when we first met was there's a picture of you getting on a school bus in Air Jordan 11s. And I wanted to know, where did your love of sneakers start?
Where did it start? Mm-hmm. So I was wearing Jordans since I could remember. Like, my dad would go Saturday morning, get the newest release, get me a pair. I was, my whole childhood, every picture I'm wearing something, some Jordan, whatever. Yeah, I think when in my memory, my first time like able to pick a shoe, I picked Iversons.
Really?
That's like I transitioned from Jordans to Iversons.
That makes sense. You were coming up right when Iverson was like,
I was a big Iverson. I'm still am.
Yeah.
Like, I love Iverson.
Did you watch the finals, the 2000 finals?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's when I stopped watching basketball.
Gotcha.
When Iverson, yeah.
I mean, it's the last time the Sixers were in the finals, so it's probably the last time it was worth watching.
I think my heart broke, and then I was like, I'm not. Yeah. For real though.
No, for sure.
Like, I don't pay attention to sports.
No, for sure. Yeah.
But I used to like, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, Iverson was arguably one of the GOATs, if not. Well, I can't call him the GOAT, but I think for a lot of people on the East Coast in Philadelphia, he was the GOAT.
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
my GOAT.
Okay, so cool. So your dad was buying you sneakers. You were wearing every sneaker release. And then as you got older, did you start buying your own sneakers? Were you waiting in lines? Like, how did that?
Yeah, so I've always had like a sneaker collection, like, and I put air quotes on that. Because it wasn't like a real collection, but I would always this is like when I was young, like elementary school. I would line up my 4 pairs of shoes.
Nice.
Like, keep them clean. I didn't know sneaker collecting was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find out there's like a whole culture behind it until like maybe middle school. I joined like ISS forums and Nike Talk. That's when like in my head I like became a sneakerhead, and learned about the culture and like the new releases. But even like back in the day, like you can see like 5 pairs of Dunks, maybe and a pair of Air Forces like lined up. Nothing special, just like I thought it was cool to have my sneakers lined up.
What was that first big sneaker that you grabbed, that you personally like grabbed and you have like a core memory of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have this?
First, I don't remember.
Was it like a Dunk? Possibly, because I know you're like one of the.
Oh, so yeah. It was my Hawaii SBs, which are actually in the office.
Oh wow.
That
so you've had them that long? Yeah,
I bought those maybe like $120. That's more than I paid resale, but they're used.
Wow.
That was my first pair of SBs, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I bought them from South Street on South Street.
Do you remember what store?
No, I don't remember.
Gotcha. A lot of stores have kind of rotated in and out of there. I think
Suplex.
I'm
sure it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So I always know, like, every time I used to go over to your house, to give you guys some background, we first met in college. We're both industrial designers. We were both in the same program. I met my wife there too. We're both friends with my wife. So we both met that way, and you would always have 6 sneakers on, but then once we started to become friends, probably like second year of college, like the couple times that I went over to your house, like you had this huge wall of sneakers and boxes and everything, and I'd see like crazy releases. I'd see all the different Dunks. So were Dunks and SBs your like main shoe?
So I started collecting like actively in my head like in 2005, and it was with SBs.
Gotcha.
Obviously, like I told you, I had sneakers before that. I like grew up wearing Jordans, but yeah, my collection started with Nike SB. Yeah, and I was like at that time those sneakers it was different. Like you couldn't really like one sneaker or skate shop had them. Like I was buying sneakers on like ISS forums. Like there was no Facebook group, there's no online shopping. eBay was a thing, but sneakers didn't sell on eBay. And at that time, like the most expensive, like Tiffany, which was like a grail of everyone's, was like $500.
Oh wow!
Like, and it's funny. In my head, I was like, "Oh, I'll never have like $500 to spend on like my grails or whatever."
Right.
But like now, a 500 resells like cheap. You're like, "Oh, it's only 500." Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What was your? So did you ever get the Tiffany's?
No, I've never had them. I had the highs.
Oh right, okay. Those dropped in what, like 2009?
Yeah, I actually bought them from Ed.
Oh no way!
Yeah.
Shout out to Ed. If you're watching, you're probably not watching this, but Media Giraffes on Instagram. So what was a grail that you did have? What would you say is like your most expensive or the craziest pair that you ever owned?
Man, I don't know. My collection's not that crazy, like in terms of like what compared to like other guys, but like, cause I never really fell into like the high, like,
right.
I am a hype beast, but like I'm a hype beast of like what I think is hype.
Fair.
If that makes sense.
That's good. That's a more unique way to go about it than people just buying the most
like
expensive sneakers.
I have Stussy, the Stussy SBs, which now I don't know, maybe 2,000-3,000.
That's crazy.
My pair's worn, but it's crazy. But like I didn't buy it because of that. I probably bought them for $150.
Yeah, for a while they were like $300 max, and then like
I bought them in like 2006.
Right. I mean, I'm talking even like 2014 maybe.
Yeah, Travis Scott wore them, and then they
exploded. Yeah. Okay, so your love of sneakers obviously has been like a core part of, I wouldn't say it's a core part of your personality, but it's been a core part of your
my
life.
identity.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And I think sneakers definitely defines our fashion sense a little bit. Not us, but just people in general who are sneakerheads in some way. And so you kind of follow that streetwear sneaker culture. So who would you say are like your biggest fashion icons? Do you have anyone that you look up to?
Currently?
Yeah, currently.
A$AP Rocky.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's fire.
Nice.
Right now, yeah, I mean, Kanye historically.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, the reason I brought up sneakers initially is because I wanted to sort of, obviously it's a big part of you, but also like we own a sock company. We started a sock company, and I think we started that because we both love sneakers. And side note, you really did sort of ignite the big sneaker love within me in college. That sounded not the great way to phrase that, but you did. And obviously, like my career now is sneaker YouTube, so I got to give you some credit there. Hate to say it, but he also gives me some video ideas here and there. That being said, so obviously socks were sort of the direction we took this company, but I know we used to talk about like what we wanted to create. What was I don't remember who came up with the idea for socks, but what was it like?
I think it came from us wanting to create a sneaker.
Right. That's what it was. Okay.
And then we were like, that's not impossible, but like much harder. Cost wise, just amount of work. And like, would we be able to sell a sneaker?
Right.
At the quantities we're selling socks.
Right.
And I think socks just came from that, based on my memory.
That makes sense. Yeah. One thing that I always found interesting that you were doing before we even got into socks is that you were manufacturing things before we started the sock company. Like obviously we'll get into your career history later, but like talking about just you literally come to school, or maybe was it after school?
I made socks before.
That's the Yeezy socks in 2016. I was gonna bring that up.
Before anyone, like
100%.
Now it's like people don't wear Yeezys anymore, but like now, or like 5 years ago, you go to SneakerCon and everyone's selling them. But I did that like,
I remember,
like way before.
So he used to. So every so often he would come up and be like, "Yo, I got something new that I made." One time he made glasses.
Yeah.
Straight up, he made glasses from scratch and then had a factory make them, and you wore them.
Yeah.
You had you were the first person to do the Off-White camera strap, which Off-White later did.
Yeah, and this reps every like.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What's wild too is you showed me the picture of them, and then they got posted in Hypebeast, and then you got like a ton of orders for them.
Yeah, and then I cut it off because I was like, "How am I gonna make these?"
Yeah. How many orders do you think you got in like the first couple hours after the Hypebeast started?
So I went to sleep that night, and the next morning I had like 30 orders, but it was just on my personal website, no marketing, and I was charging like $250.
How much were the belts?
They were like I was buying them on Grailed because you couldn't buy them like at the store.
Right.
I was paying like $150, but you could make 2 straps from.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And then of course
Jordan actually made them.
I know,
My
yeah,
wife, yeah.
You know, my wife does like leather. Well, she used to do leather stuff, and so she'd help you with sort of.
Yeah,
put
so
them together.
I made the first one, took pictures of it,
Mhm.
and then I was like, how am I going to do this? I don't really know how to sew or do anything.
It's crazy to me because I think about this a lot because like a lot of the stuff that we've done that's really popped off at Apothecary. I'm not trying to blow up your ego or blow up your head or anything, but like a lot of the stuff that we've done that's popped. It's too late. Yeah, it is too late. Has been your idea. For example, the sneaker wipes that look like condoms.
Yeah.
That was an idea. I was
Viral,
kind of like,
viral.
I don't know about this. And then it started to pop. And this one girl who we met at a YouTube event, he gave her like a mystery bag. She made a video and it popped off.
Yeah, I think over 1 million.
It's crazy.
She's just making like a joke of it.
For sneaker wipes.
But it is a joke. So
it is a joke.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I got a lot of tweets of people saying, yo, you almost broke up my marriage because my wife saw my sneaker bag.
I think people like the humor. Like when you don't take things too seriously and just have fun with the product. Like that's what I like. When I see a brand having fun with a product.
Totally.
Like I resonate with it. I want it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do with Apothecary. It's just like have fun with it.
Right. And another thing that you did that was sort of viral is the pretty much broke stuff. Yeah. Like that was something that we can get into that story. Actually, let's get into the story now.
And but just before the story, it's the same thing. It's just having fun with it. Like not taking things too seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So let me give you my perspective and then you give me your perspective. So my perspective was Osman came to me one day, probably 2021, 2022. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yo, I got this hat. I think we should make it. And I don't remember saying this to you, but apparently I was like, nah. And then about 2 months later, he came in and he was like wearing it or something. And I forget whether you tell me that people were like about it or what the deal was. But I was like, oh, why haven't we made these yet? And you're like, dude, I told you we should make these forever ago. So let me hear your side of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly true. So I like texted Seth one night, probably really late. And I was like, yo, we should make a hat that says pretty much broke. And he gave me like a apathetic answer, like, I don't know, or like meh, or something along those lines. And I was just like, to me, when Seth says, because I know him, that means like he's not in, like he doesn't want to, but he doesn't want to tell me no. So I was like, okay. So I made one for myself. I wore it every day for a month around him. He just didn't pay attention. And I think we just like went to the mall someday, and like people were like stopping me, and he saw it. Yeah. And then you're like, whose hat is that? And I was like, I told you about this a month ago. And I was like, it could be ours.
Well, so the reason I think I wasn't sure whose hat it was because you had that purple hat that you were wearing for a little bit, and I knew that wasn't ours, and then I didn't realize that this was ours because you wore the purple hat, and then you wore the pretty much broke hat, and so in my head I'm like, whose is that? But then you were 100% right about that. Now I wouldn't say you got a 100% hit rate and everything, but you're pretty good with coming up with those sort of products that get people's attention. I think it's because you really have a deep-rooted love for the culture, and you really have a good being someone who's been in it for decades and know what you like and have your own unique sense of what you like. I think it makes it easier for you to come up with stuff that resonates with other people that are like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I've been in Soho before like Supreme.com, like, but you couldn't buy Supreme online. Like that wasn't a thing.
What year was that? Like 2007?
It was 7, 8, 9, 10.
Because I remember you had multiple BOGOs that you're like, I didn't get these online because you couldn't.
You couldn't. Like Supreme.com did my shop. Like I was around. I was waiting in lines in Soho. Like no one, like in this area, like not no one. There's a very small amount of people like doing what I like, that loved what I loved. Mm-hmm. Now it's much more common. But yeah.
Were you like one of the first people? So in Philly, we had this Facebook group called Buy Sell Fresh Kicks Philly. That was like, that's where I really started getting into sneakers because that's where I could really see like what people were selling, how much resale prices were, the shoes I wanted to buy. I was doing a lot of customs at the time, but I feel like you were one of the first few people on that.
I don't know if I was one of the first few people, but like before that, there was, like I was saying, ISS Forums, which is Soul Collector magazine.
Right.
But there's like a Philly thread in there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's where like it was before. And then the Facebook group came out when like Facebook popped off and all that stuff.
Right. What were some of those big releases? Like I remember we were together for the Air Yeezy 2 Red Octobers, or we were, I think we were, I don't know exactly how we were, but what were some of those big releases that you remember that were like iconic and like staple pigeons, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, even the Air Yeezy 1s were crazy. Yeah. Like at Ubic at the time. Because all those releases, so at this time too, there was no online raffles. It was like, there wasn't even really raffles. It was first come, first serve to these stores. Mm-hmm. And you would have to line up either like the night before, or I mean, whenever you think is a great time. Mm-hmm. Like it's not by luck. It's by like putting in the time and the effort into getting them, which I think was really cool. Now it's just like bots and luck. if you want something, you have to test your luck, which is a much. I think when you hit something these days, which I haven't hit anything in years, you appreciate it less.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I stood outside for 8 hours. I got these shoes.
Yeah, and you have the stories of when you stood outside and didn't get the shoes, and then that shoe's the shoe that got away, and then it becomes like this crazy shoe.
I've still a decent sized collection, and I have a hard time parting ways because each shoe has a story, and it's not just like, hey, I bought this because it was hype and it's worth $800 or $1,000. Like, to me, most of them probably don't even have value. It's just like, but they have stories,
right?
And that's why, yeah.
That's really interesting that you say that, because it makes me think about like a lot of the brands that have really popped off, and it's because I think a lot of them have that sort of story of that identity. Yeah. And I'd be interested to know what you think makes a successful streetwear brand from what you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer that, but I wasn't necessarily saying the story of the shoe. I was saying the story of me getting the shoe.
Okay.
It's like, hey, I have these Jordan 3s, whatever.
That makes sense. Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I remember, I had to call these 4 stores, and then I had to wake up really early and wait and whatever. And when I look at it, I'm like, I remember that time, not necessarily the marketing behind it, but that
makes sense.
Also, yeah, I mean, what was your question?
I think it didn't really apply. I think it's so one thing that we've noticed as sneaker culture has gotten, I guess, older and more mature, a lot of these brands are trying to push storytelling, but I think that there's something really authentic about that original, like the story that you created about your own sneaker, like, or about your own story getting that sneaker. And I wonder, is there a way to sort of capture that again, like recapture that idea of like the authentic,
like in today's market?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way. That's the key to life. Right. I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, I feel like we got a little bit off track. So let me get back to where we were going from. So, so you started out, you grew up as a sneakerhead. You love sneakers your whole life. And then you go off to college, we meet. Sort of what are the next steps leading to getting towards APTHCRY? We'll end on APTHCRY, but let's get that story in between, high school and where you are now.
Yeah, so I was actively collecting sneakers since like 2005. Went to college for product design along with Seth, met him there, like you said. And I've always been into streetwear, sneakers, basically my whole life. And knowing the manufacturing and how to work with factories and understanding the marketing of the streetwear companies and like what being really into the culture and not just like service level. Like I really love it. I think that's what kind of APTHCRY was born out of. And same for you. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So you bring up knowing how to manufacture. Where did you learn that? Because a lot of questions that I get from people who are interested in the brand is, how do I get into it? How do I start? And obviously we can't give you like factory names or stuff, but like, how did you get into?
It's trial and error. I mean, we went to school for product design, but we didn't learn anything about talking to factories.
Right.
My first jobs out of school, I was very fortunate or had the experience of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like, you just figure it out. I mean, like everything in life, you just have to try and learn.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And that's how because I remember when you were making these things like the Yeezy socks, which we sort of talked about. And for those of you, I don't know if we gave any context for it, but he created a sock that looked like Yeezy Zebras. Right,
you've probably seen them, but not mine.
Right.
Like, yeah.
You literally put out a picture, and then I remember like a couple months later, I was seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So it was literally just a sock
Same with off-white straps.
That's true. It's crazy that you've had multiple things like that have literally gotten reposted somewhere and then became like a thing.
Yeah,
like that's crazy to think about.
Without me,
I know it's crazy.
Taken from me.
Well, that's what you're trying to do with APTHCRY. Take the things that are your ideas that are crazy, and then making them yours and trademarking them. Okay, cool. So yeah, so when it comes to factories, trial and error is what you're saying, because you're sort of the main factory guy here, because obviously you've sort of had a lot of experience with it. So if someone's looking for a factory, do they just go online and search like?
Yeah, I would find factories of whatever you're trying to make, and I wouldn't just go to one. I would go to like 5 and talk to all of them at the same time.
Right. And try and get the best deal and get the best product.
And the one who understands you the best. Like, it might not be the best price, but they might just be like better at talking and better at communicating, and it might be worth paying that extra 25 cents versus like struggling communicating.
Right.
Or whatever. I mean, you can evaluate your pros and cons, but I wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket until you find that partner.
Gotcha. So were you working with factories at some of your other jobs before Apothecary?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
Like first job out of school, I was working with factories.
Well, speaking of that, what was your sort of career path? How did that go?
Yeah, so graduated school. So I did internships. We both did. But after school, I worked at a small agency. It was like a industrial design and engineering firm, where like a lot of my stuff was like prepping things to send to factories, communicating with factories, designing for clients. After that, I did like a bunch of freelance. So at the time, I think this was like 2015. I left that job because I had a ton of freelance work, and I pretty much worked at every hardware startup in Philadelphia at the same time.
Nice.
After that, I went to like a.
Were there a lot of hardware startups in Philly?
There's about 5 or 6,
Wow,
and I was at all of them.
Oh my gosh.
There might have been more, but
Right.
I was at like 5 or 6, and they're all based out here.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
I was like going one day at one office, one day to another office, one day.
I didn't even know you did that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I quit my job, like my full time to do that.
I literally didn't. I thought that you went straight from your full time to Comcast.
No, yeah, and then after that, I got a offer from Comcast. I didn't even apply. Like they called me.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like, hey, you want to work here? And I was like, sure.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna say his name, but someone called me there, who's like the head of the industrial design, and was like, hey, we're looking for someone. Are you interested? And I was like, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you were at Comcast for how long?
5 years, a little more, maybe 5.5.
And were you an industrial designer there? Was
Yes.
that okay.
Yeah.
And then what was sort of your, like, is there anything in particular that you were working on or anything that you're
So
proud
I
of?
worked on like B2B, mostly B2B, like hardware equipment of like just telecom stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not super interesting, but I really love that too. Like in addition to streetwear, like I love the process of industrial design. Like it makes me giddy.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
great. So I guess when it comes to, when you mean, say B2B, you mean business to business?
Yes.
Okay. And then are you talking about like physical, like products? Like
Yeah. So
actual-
I was working on physical products, like out of I don't want to say like names of anything, but out of our kind of sector, I did all the hardware.
Oh, wow.
And then I kind of started to lead a team. So I got really heavy into like UX, because I had to like start leading the team of doing UX stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was mostly hardware, UX towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest hurdle that you had at Comcast? Was there anything that you...
I mean, I think it's like such a large corporation, and it's
Mhm.
just like there's so much like politics and kind of that kind of stuff. And it's not like hurtful or anything, but like things take so long.
Right.
If you wanted something, you have to ask, like you have to go up the ladder X amount of times, and it's just, yeah, it can get frustrating for certain things.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I know that we can cut this if you don't want to put it in, but you have a lot of patents.
I do.
How many patents do you think you have?
I've somewhere between 7 and 10.
That's all at Comcast.
Yeah, all from Comcast. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild. Like that's
Yeah.
something that most people don't even get. And I know a lot of, my dad's a professor of electrical engineering, and a lot of his students want, like, that's what they strive for. They want to get
Yeah.
those patents.
And it's cool. Comcast gives you like a cool little plaque
That's sick.
every time you get one. So yeah, I have a nice little collection.
Do you have you hung them up on your wall anywhere?
No, they're just in boxes,
Oh, you
but
should
I
hang
will
'em
one
up.
day. If I have an office, I'll put them
You
there.
should put them up here.
Maybe.
The Apothecary office. That's awesome. Okay, so I know that obviously we started Apothecary and we were both doing our own, like I was doing YouTube, you were doing Comcast. How many years was it between when we started back in 2020 and when you left Comcast? Because I actually don't remember exactly when that was.
Yeah, so for a while I was doing both,
Mhm.
and then I went full time here maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay. What was sort of what led into going to full time here?
So I was thinking about it for a while. I'm sure I was talking to you about it at the
Mhm.
time. I think so. Yeah, it was something I've been thinking about and wanting to do. It's just to leave something so comfortable and then take a big risk. Is obviously not an easy decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we went on a long trip to Asia.
Oh, right.
I think
Yeah.
and then I was like, how I had trouble sitting at a desk after that.
Fair. Well, yeah, you were gone for like, because you went to what? You went to you went to Philippines,
Hawaii, Philippines, and Japan.
and Japan. Yeah, and you spent most of the time in the Philippines, right? Because you flew there
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
and then or did you do Hawaii first, and then you
We
went
did
to
Hawaii
Philippines?
first
That's
because
what
we
it
did
was.
SneakerCon.
SneakerCon, that's right. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I was already thinking about it before that, but after being gone for like 3 weeks, and then coming back to work and needing to sit there, it was just like, I think this is the time.
Did you have a similar, because I know one thing that I talk about a lot whenever I talk about sort of how the YouTube channel took off is it got to a point where I was making the same amount on YouTube that I was at my full-time job. Was that another thing too, where like APTHCRY was making good money and you're like, you know what, even if I do this?
Yes. Yeah. Obviously that helped. It wasn't just, I didn't want to sit at a desk. It was like, I was seeing the numbers we were doing and I was like, hey, I think it's not obviously as safe as working like a corporate job, but like, I was like, it's not like that big of a risk. Gotcha.
And would you say that since being able to devote all your time to APTHCRY, things have sort of accelerated? Because from the outside looking in, because I'm only here once a week, from the outside looking in, it seems like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely hurdles that we're just trying to figure out. I mean, none of us have started a company before, so we're learning, we're trial by error, right? But yeah, I would like to think so.
What would you say has been some of the biggest issues that you've run into?
So
especially in the early, like getting things off the ground.
Yeah, I think we definitely had a little bit of a early cheat code because of your audience, so that was very helpful to APTHCRY. But like, yeah, it's just like like there's so many little things you have to manage and things that you don't think you have to manage, but like even like spend, which is obviously obvious, but like you have to really know like how much you're bringing in, so how much inventory to buy,
right? Just
like all kinds of like little tiny details that you have to be on your A game all the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Sorry. And you spend all day doing like busy, but you get nothing done.
Yeah.
At the same time, which is, I still don't really understand.
Well, I think you do get stuff done. It's just like you're chipping away slowly.
Yeah, they're like micro things.
Yeah. But there are things that have to get, like one thing that I noticed, and I think one of the reasons why APTHCRY took off as quickly as it did once you started going full time is because someone was able to sit and do those things.
Yeah.
Before it was like you and I were like, we do it after work, or we do it, And,
or be like, hey, could you do this? And you're like, yeah. Or you'd be like, can I do it? I'm like, yeah. And we wouldn't.
Exactly. And I think that's really helped. And I think it's helped with both, marketing, and it's helped in every aspect, I'd say. Yeah. Okay, so talking about APTHCRY, obviously we've been working on some stuff besides socks. We've got clothing and apparel, and we've got something in front of us. Why don't you tell us about what we've got in front of us?
Yeah, so like I said, APTHCRY started because we wanted to create a shoe. At that time, it wasn't the right time for us, and since then we've tried to create a different shoe, which I don't think we've ever shown anyone. It's over
Should
there.
I get a sample really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys probably have never seen this, but we've maybe 3 years ago?
It might have been 3 years ago, yeah.
We went to a local shoe factory and had this sample made, or a couple samples of this like moccasin type runner. I don't know what to call it. We never dropped them because we weren't fully happy with the samples, so we just didn't want to sell something we didn't love.
Yeah.
It was definitely a cool experience, though. I mean, I don't regret it. It was rather expensive, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
It looks nothing like what we sketched.
Yeah. So that was the main concern.
That was the main reason. Yeah.
We had an idea in our heads, and the factory was unable to accomplish them, so we just kind of pulled the plug. But yeah, so sneakers have always been on the back burners, but something we wanted to do. We were presented with an opportunity to work with Zellerfeld, who recently worked with Nike to create the Air Max 1000s. And so we've been working with them for the past few months, several months maybe.
Yeah.
And now we have our first two samples that came today.
The Mach 1 is the name we've decided upon. Tentatively. Yeah, no, these are great. And this is actually another idea that's sort of born of something that a brainchild of yours, and then we sort of worked on it together. But because originally when we were thinking about 3D printed shoes, like the ideas that I had were so similar to regular 3D printed shoes, and I think it's cool to have something that's a bit more of a lounge sneaker, and it ties in with our brand aesthetic too, and our brand in general, because we make socks. Socks are the kind of thing that you can wear around the house. If we're going to create a shoe, it should be something that you can rock around the house or wear out if you want to.
Yeah, like a loungewear. I mean, most people just are in their house in socks, and like I am. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we wanted to create, like, we're not going after Nike or Hoka trying to create like a performance sneaker. We can't like, that's not an industry we can even compete in at the moment.
No.
So we wanted to take it a different direction of, just comfort, cozy vibes.
And it's crazy cozy. Like that was one thing. Like everyone in the office has commented on how soft it is, and it's something that I didn't expect either. Like this whole area here is just like
I'm like super happy with. Like these
Me
came
too.
out better than I even expected.
We did a coin toss to see who would get the black sample, and Osman won. So kind of annoyed by that. But when it actually comes out, I'll get a black one or maybe a blue one. I don't know which color I'm gonna get. We can get all the colors. But yeah, I think it came out really, really good. Obviously, these are first round samples, so we are going to change some things, but generally these are pretty close to what they're going to be. And probably by the time this podcast comes out, they might be live. So check them out through the link in the description below. If they're not live, there'll be something down there.
Yeah. You'll know when they come out if you follow the Apothecary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, cool. So what does the future hold in your mind for Apothecary?
I think I would like to do like larger collections, more clothing, more cut and sew, continue with creating the best socks ever. Like that's our bread and butter, and
totally
we need to continue. I wear them every day, and yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so in terms of your life, you got anything big coming up? I know you've been like traveling. Actually, you know what? I do want to get a little bit into your traveling because literally since you quit Comcast, you have been traveling like a fiend. Now most of it's business travel, but this last January, you were gone the entire month just in Thailand. So what would you say has been your favorite trip that you've gone on in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so like I've been traveling a lot. I went to Turkey a bunch, both work and just for vacation.
Because you're half Turkish and half Filipino, right?
And I mean, just before that, like I really love that like Apothecary gets to take us to different places. Like that that is a cool. I know you can travel less these days, but like that is something that I really enjoy and just like
I do too.
Super grateful for.
Absolutely. And it's more fun traveling with you than it is by myself, I will say.
Fair.
Significantly. Significantly so. And we did just go to the last trip we went on together was Saudi Arabia,
which was a big trip.
That was a big trip.
Interesting place.
It was. It was. And I think I would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't super sick the whole time. Yes. But we did have fun when I was not so sick.
Yeah.
But so what's one very memorable experience you've had in the last year of traveling? Is there anything in particular?
So I went to Thailand for the first time in January, and it was like I had zero expectation. I didn't really know anything about it. We've been to the Philippines, so I was kind of expecting it to be like that, and it is a little bit, but like it was just an amazing, like Bangkok's an amazing city, and I think I fell in love with the city.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I was there for 3 weeks. And then I came home for a week, and then we went to Saudi, and then I went back there, which is wild.
That is wild. I can't believe you did that.
And I wouldn't be
for like a week.
Yes. I don't know, but they were like having strikes in like Berlin.
He couldn't fly back.
Yeah,
I was sitting here at the office like, yo, we really need Osman for like a lot of different projects, and he's gone. Like
extended my trip like an extra 4 days.
It was wild.
Which like there's worse places to be stuck, but I didn't know like that problem was like if they told me 4 days from now, I'll be cool. I'll go to the beach.
Yeah.
But like I was like waiting with my luggage, like, am I leaving today? Like I couldn't do anything.
That's brutal. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a pretty wild.
I was literally like I was sitting in the hotel, didn't know if I should add another day.
Right.
Just like waiting to get a call like I'm leaving.
That's why I don't know if I could. Maybe like years ago when I was in my 20s, I might be able to handle that. But right now, I'd be like, oh my god, I need to see my family. I don't know what's going on.
You would start driving back.
I would start driving. Where's Thailand attached to? Is Thailand?
I can go to like China North.
Okay, I drive through China. I drive through
we were in Vegas one time. We had a delay. Seth was like, I think we should rent a car and drive. I'm like, what?
Well, so let me just explain what happened. We were in Vegas and we took a flight and it was supposed to land in
Arizona.
And we get to we're over the airport and then they start circling and they're like, we're running out of gas. We can't land because there's a huge storm. We're going to go back. And we're like, what do you mean you're running out of gas? It took us, an hour and a half to get there? We got back in 30 minutes because these fools were running out of gas. They had to just punch it to get back. And I was like, dude, I'm not doing this again. Like I was so scared. I'm like, we're driving. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Okay, so to get a bit more real, obviously we work together very regularly. Mm-hmm. We're good friends and we're on the phone or we text all the time. What is something that I do that just really pisses you off?
When you're apathetic.
Fair. Okay.
Overly apathetic.
And unfortunately that's me.
And I've told you that you should know this.
I do.
It's not a surprise.
I'm glad that was the answer. I was worried it was gonna be something else, but that works for me.
I mean, I think whenever something bothers me about you, like you're doing something, I'll always tell you. Like you do. Whether you want to hear it or not, like I'll tell you.
That's true. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that like I just use all my energy very quickly throughout the day, and then after that, my energy's gone. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah, and then like you can see, like if I'll say something, he'll be like, eh, and I'm like, okay, like I'll like call him out on it.
Yeah, like I'm hungry or I'm tired. I'm just like, yo, I'm done. I want to, sort
What
of.
about the other way?
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
The other way.
Because it's not like you don't always call him. Like occasionally you do, but rarely.
Something that you do that annoys me. I think the things that you do that annoy me, I do try and call you out on.
I know I used to like text really late, and I stopped that. I don't know if that annoyed you, but I felt like it annoyed you.
No, it didn't.
Like I would like spam text at like 2 a.m.
You did
before.
do that. You did do that, but that never really bothered me.
But I stopped. I don't know if you noticed.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice. There's nothing like in particular. I mean, there's little things that I think just throughout the day. Like sometimes I get annoyed if you're like really giving me a lot of crap, but like that's just having a friend. Like I feel like that's not anything serious. I'm sure if you give me some time to think about it, or if you do something, I'll be like, yo, let's.
But you can call me on it. I don't.
No,
mind.
I will.
All right.
100%. I'm just trying to think. There's definitely things that you do that annoy me. I'm not trying to let you off the hook here. Like there's definitely things that you do.
It's funny when you ask like third parties about our like they're like about like us and how we interact. Like they're like. Because we like bicker like we're married all day long.
True, we do.
Like people would think we probably don't like each other.
I don't. Yeah, that's possible. I don't know. I think maybe sometimes. Okay, here's one. You do play your emotions pretty close to the vest. Okay. So sometimes I don't know if you're giving me crap or if you're actually angry. That's probably one thing. And then sometimes I'll make a joke, and then the way you respond, I'll know if you're actually angry or if you don't care. Okay. That's one thing that like sometimes I'm like, oh shoot, I don't know which way to respond. Yeah. That's it. That's generally. I'm sure there's more, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. But yeah, I could see that. And I kind of like, I don't mind it. It's a good relationship. It works out, and it doesn't. I don't take it personally. I hope you don't take it personally. Like it works out, and I feel like it's good to have sort of a yin and a yang situation when it comes to business partners because we sort of balance each other out. I think there's things that we both could work on.
Absolutely.
Definitely things that we could both work on, and probably the same things for both of us. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we've talked about this, but it's good that like a lot of like you're very good at being assertive and getting things done, and I'm very good at working on other things and getting other things done.
But even like in a social setting, like going to like sneaker cons and whatever, or just not even sneaker cons, but like socializing, like I can socialize, I can network, but I can't like hold a conversation with someone for like 2 hours about nothing.
And then I hold conversations for way too long.
And you can do that, like which is like a skill.
I don't know if it's a skill. I think sometimes I just zone out. I'm like
I can small talk for like 5 minutes,
right?
But then I'm like, I need to move on.
Well, there are times where like we'll be at an event. This happened multiple times. I think at Zoomies in particular, like Agenda was the one that I'm thinking of in particular. Like, well, I'll get in a conversation with someone and I'll just like be sucked in that conversation for 2 hours. And you're like, listen, like we've got to like talk to other people to network here. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get to that in a second. And we just don't.
But it is a good skill. Like if you're trying to like win someone over, like that's the way to do it.
That's true. Unfortunately, like I don't usually like I'm not thinking about if this is the person I want to win over. And the problem is recently, like I won't.
It's funny at SneakerCon sometimes. Like a fan will come up, and you being so nice, you'll talk to them for like 30 minutes or longer, but then you see like, or he doesn't see because he's in conversation, but like then there starts to be like a crowd like waiting to say hi.
That's just all me planning like, yo, I need to make my line look as good as possible. So we do SneakerCon a lot, and I think that's sort of exclusively what we do, not just because we're exclusively tied to them, but that's just the main one that we do. It's the biggest one. What would you say is your favorite part and your least favorite part about doing events, specifically sneaker events?
Yeah, I think my least favorite part is setting up.
Yes.
And taking down is worse than setting up.
Oh, really? Because you're already done?
Yeah, because I'm tired or we're tired.
That's true.
And then that's
when we usually get in the most fights, is when we're setting up or taking down.
Yeah, because you're apathetic and I'm not. Yeah.
That's true.
Like he stops caring, which makes sense because he's tired, but I don't stop caring.
That's true. Well, what's really good is that, so I think one way our personalities really balance each other out is because I definitely have like pretty severe, I think, attention deficit disorder. And so I get an idea and I want to do it really quick. And then if it doesn't happen, I'm just over it. But you're like I would say you're very detail oriented. So if I come up with an idea or if you come up with an idea, I'll get really excited about it. And then when it gets put in practice, I'm not as excited about it anymore. Yeah. And then you're like, listen, we got to do this right if we're going to do it. And I do appreciate that because it really does help us kind of stay on the right track. But I think sometimes you're so detail oriented that sometimes you miss some of the excitement.
Yeah.
The excitement. And that's actually, this is a good example of that because I think, had a grand idea for the shoe. And then in the weeds, we both kind of I got a little bit less excited.
Me too.
You got a little bit less excited because I think some details weren't going the way that you wanted. And now that we actually have them.
I'm
and
hyped now.
Me too. Incredible.
Like 2 weeks ago, I was less hyped. I was like, meh. I was apathetic.
But I'm really happy with the way it came out. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And I'm
Guys,
really,
they're 3D printed.
they are 3D printed.
They're
And
3D printed.
we actually don't know the price point yet. We
Don't
told
know
them
the
a price
price.
point that we want to do, but we don't know the price. We can set it, I think, for
We have to see the cost and then
Yes.
deal with that.
yeah, because I think the time we're filming this podcast is probably a month to a month and a half before you guys actually see it. So
Yeah.
by then there will be a price, and hopefully,
Yeah.
and,
And,
they'll be
and
launched.
just so you know, we're trying to make them as affordable as possible. We're not like trying to get rich off these.
no, not at all. This is
We want these to be for you. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. I think for us, it's just a matter of like literally covering the cost of manufacturing.
Yeah, at a minimum. And I think that's as long as we're not losing money, I think we're happy
Yeah, I completely agree.
with this. I mean,
Yes. Yes. In general, we want to be making money, but with
Yeah.
these, I think this is more of just like a love letter to the sneakers and the fans and everyone. Yeah. Cool. Well, that being said, I think, unless is there any other topics you want to cover before we round
No,
things off?
You? Anything with you?
No, I there's definitely more that
Your
I'm going to
birthday's
think of.
coming up.
But well, by now it's past,
Yeah.
and now I'm just old.
Seth's birthday is Air Max Day. if you
It
didn't
is,
know.
yes. And us is so what? Yours is November. I won't say the exact date, but yours is November, and so you are what? Because it's November '91, and I'm '92.
What are you trying to say? How much older I am?
You are older than me, but not by a huge amount.
A couple months.
Couple
6
months, yeah. But he's 33. Old. I'm not there yet. I'm still 32. I'm still young and spry. But yeah, where can they find you?
OCC man.
OCC man on.
Anywhere.
Actually, really quick before, because that's one thing that people ask me all the time. Sometimes I'll like tell someone that I'm going to connect them with you, and then they'll see your Instagram, and then they'll just write that as your name.
Oh yeah, all the time.
So what is that?
90% of the time, someone says, "Hey, OCC man," or I don't. Yeah.
They're probably thinking that's how you say it, or because two C's together can be an S, right? Sort of.
Some people say Awkman,
Oh,
but like
true,
a lot of times, I'm actually surprised about the amount of times they'll say OCC.
Yeah.
There's no dots or anything.
Right. Well, they might assume that
Yeah.
it's your initial. Well, because it is your initial.
Yeah, they're my initials.
Yeah. Also, one thing I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but for years I've never been able to pronounce your name correctly. And I want to know, for everyone watching, how do you correctly pronounce your name?
My name's Osman.
There we go. And I've been working on it. I'm not doing a good job,
All right.
but I'm working on it. We can cut that part too, don't worry.
I don't care.
Okay.
I really don't care about nothing.
Okay, cool. Fair enough. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow us over on OCC Man at APTHCRY. OCC Man
You can
at
just follow APTHCRY. it's
Instagram.
fine.
Follow OCC Man too. Get his followers up. Your followers have been bumping since you started APTHCRY.
Yeah, I had like maybe 600 before APTHCRY.
Now you're a couple thou.
Yeah.
And you're verified.
Yeah.
And it was no, you paid for it, but
I don't pay for it.
You really don't?
I applied and then I was denied because I didn't have a profile picture, and then I just got it.
So you legit got it.
Yeah, I paid for the APTHCRY.
Dang, let's go. Let's go.
I think it's through that, but like I think there's a glitch and they don't know that.
It could also be that they know that you're because APTHCRY could have gotten. So the only reason I got verified is because of an article that we did about APTHCRY. So it could be that too.
Well, when they started doing the paid stuff, I obviously applied because I wanted it, and I didn't have a face as my profile picture because it's like the
What
top
did
of
you
my
have?
head.
Oh,
no,
top
it's
of
still
your
the same
head.
thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
okay.
think they want the full face.
Gotcha.
So I was like, you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't want to change my profile picture.
That makes sense.
And then
it
like
just
3
popped
days
up.
later, it just popped up.
That's crazy. That's nuts, dude. I applied for verification so many times.
No, but I
So
applied
many
through the
times.
pay one, not the free thing,
Oh.
because I was ready to pay for it.
Gotcha. That was the paid thing really pissed me off because I had applied
Yeah,
for
you-
years. I got it like, and then a month later the
Yeah.
paid started. I was like, bro, this is
No,
so
I was
frustrating.
gonna pay for it, and that's where it came from. I didn't apply it regularly.
It's not because really?
Well, I did, but like,
But you don't. So because you paid for it through is APTHCRY a link? It is a link to your personal account, isn't it? In some way, like you can switch
no,
back
I think
and
it's
forth.
yeah.
It's under the APTHCRY. Well, it's under an email address that's not tied to either of us, though.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be.
No, I think it's a glitch in Instagram. I think one day they're gonna start charging me.
Gotcha. Okay, Mark, don't take it away from us, please, or give us a better verification.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Just boost us.
Just boost us.
Yeah.
But guys, that pretty much wraps things up. Thank you so much for joining me
Cool.
in this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yeah, well, he's in every podcast, so make sure to tune into every episode of the Shoes Off Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube at the Shoes Off Podcast. Follow us on all of these social media platforms, and of course, subscribe on podcast networks. Once I figure out how to upload sound podcast files,
Voice podcast.
voice podcasts. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.